Vallabha Girivaradham Hari Jaya Gopi Janavallabha Girivaradham Hari Yashodanandana Rajajanarandana Yashodanandana Rajajanarandana Yamunatira Vanachari Yamunatira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Yashodanandana Prajajanarandana Yashodanandana Prajajanarandana Yamunatira Vanachari Yamunatira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Radha Madhava Radhe Jaya Radha Kunj Bihari Radha Kunj Bihari Radhe Jaya Radha Raspi Hari Radha Raspi Hari Radhe Jaya Radha Madan Mohan Radha Madan Mohan Radhe Jaya Radha Govinda Radha Govinda Radhe Jaya Radha Gopinata Radha Gopinata Radhe Jaya Radha Ramana Radha Ramana Radhe Jaya Radha Damodara Radha Damodara Radhe. Jaya Radha Gokulananda Radha Gokulananda Radhe. Jaya Radha Shyam Sundar Radha Shyam Sundar Radhe. Jaya Radhe Shyam Radhe Shyam Radhe Shyam Jaya Radhe Shyam. Jaya Krishna Balaram Krishna Balaram Krishna Balaram Jaya Krishna Balaram. Jaya Gauranitai 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 Jaya Gauranitai. Nitai Gaura Haribol 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 Nitai Gaura Haribol. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada. Jaya Jaya Gurudev 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 Jaya Jaya Gurudev. Jaya Vishupad Paramahamsa Parivrajaka Sota Satta Shishimachila. A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki. Jaya Vishupad Paramahamsa Parivrajaka Sota Satta Shishimachila. Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Srila Prabhupada ki. Ananta Gaudiya Vaishnavavrinda ki. Sri Rup Sri Sanatan Bhatta Raghunath Jeev Gopalavatara Saraghunath Sari Goswami Prabhu ki jai. Prem se ko Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Shivadari Gaura Bhaktivinoda ki jai. Shri Radha Krishna Go Gopa Gopi Gopinatham Kunda Radha Kundagiri Govardhana ki jai. Vrindavan Dham ki jai. Mathura Dham ki jai. Mayapura Dham ki jai. Jagannathpuri Dham ki jai. Tulsi Maharani Bhakti Devi ki jai. Ganga Yamuna Devi ki jai. Harinam Sankirtan Yagya ki jai. Sisi Gaunitai ki jai. Sisi Krishna Balaram ki jai. Sisi Radha Shyam Sundar ki jai. Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bol. Samavita Bhaktivinoda ki jai. All glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga, all glories to Srila Prabhupada. Reading from the Bhagavad Gita as it is, 14th chapter, text number 27. So this is the last verse of the 14th chapter. Brahmaṇo hi pratiṣṭhāham amṛtasyāvyayasya ca śāśvatasya ca dharmasya sukhasyaikāntikasya ca brahmaṇo pratiṣṭhāham amṛtasyāvyayasya ca śāśvatasya ca dharmasya sukhasyaikāntikasya ca brahmaṇo pratiṣṭhāham amṛtasyāvyayasya ca śāśvatasya ca dharmasya sukhasyaikāntikasya ca brahmaṇo pratiṣṭhāham amṛtasyāvyayasya ca śāśvatasya ca dharmasya sukhasyaikāntikasya ca. brahmaṇo pratiṣṭhāham amṛtasya ca śāśvatasya ca dharmasya sukhasyaikāntikasya ca brahmaṇo pratiṣṭhāham amṛtasyāvyayasya ca śāśvatasya ca dharmasya Brahmana of the impersonal brahma-jyotir. He certainly pratiṣṭhā, the rest, aham, I am, amṛtasya, of the immortal, avyayasya, of the imperishable, cha, also, śāśvatasya, of the eternal, cha, and dharmasya, of the constitutional position, sukhasya, of happiness, aikāntikasya, ultimate, cha, also. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki. Translation. And I am the basis of the impersonal Brahman, which is immortal, imperishable, and eternal, and is the constitutional position of ultimate happiness. Purport. The constitution of Brahman is immortality, imperishability, eternity and happiness. Brahman is the beginning of transcendental realization. Paramātmā, the Supersoul, is the middle, the second stage in transcendental realization, and the Supreme Personality of Godhead is the ultimate realization of the absolute truth. Therefore, both Paramātmā and the impersonal Brahman are within the Supreme Person. It is explained in the 7th chapter that material nature is the manifestation of the inferior energy of the Supreme Lord. The Lord impregnates the inferior material nature with fragments of the superior nature, and that is the spiritual touch in the material nature. When a living entity conditioned by this material nature begins the cultivation of spiritual knowledge, he elevates himself from the position of material existence and gradually rises up to the Brahman conception of the Supreme. This attainment of the Brahman conception of life is the first stage in self-realization. At this stage, the Brahman-realized person is transcendental to the material position, but is not actually perfect in Brahman realization. If he wants, he can continue to stay in the Brahman position and then gradually rise up to the Paramātmā realization, and then to the realization of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. There are many examples of this in Vedic literature. The 4 Kumaras were situated first in the impersonal Brahman conception of truth. But when they gradually rose to the platform of devotional service, one who cannot elevate himself beyond the impersonal conception of Brahman runs the risk of falling down. In Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, it is stated that although a person may raise to the stage of impersonal Brahman without going further, with no information of the Supreme Person, his intelligence is not perfectly clear. Therefore, in spite of being raised to the Brahman platform, there is the chance of falling down if one is not engaged in the devotional service of the Lord. In the Vedic language, it is also said, rasavaisaha, rasam hi evayam labdvanandi bhavati. When one understands the personality of God at the reservoir of pleasure, Krishna, he actually becomes transcendently blissful. The Supreme Lord is full in 6 opulences, and when the devotee approaches him, there is an exchange of these opulences. The servant of the king enjoys on an almost equal level with the king, and so eternal happiness, imperishable happiness, and eternal life accompany devotional service. Therefore, realization of Brahman, or eternity, or imperishability, is included in devotional service. This is already possessed by a person who is engaged in devotional service. The living entity, although Brahman by nature, has a desire to lord it over the material world, and due to this he falls down. In his constitutional position, the living entity is above the 3 modes of material nature. But association with material nature entangles him in the different modes of material nature, goodness, passion, and ignorance. Due to the association of these 3 modes, his desire to dominate the material world is there. By engagement in devotional service in full Krishna consciousness, he is immediately situated in the transcendental position, and his own lawful desire to control material nature is removed. Therefore, the process of devotional service, beginning with hearing, chanting, remembering, the prescribed 9 methods for realizing devotional service should be practiced in the association of devotees. Gradually, by such association, by the influence of the spiritual master, one's material desire to dominate is removed, and one becomes firmly situated in the Lord's transcendental loving service. This method is prescribed from the 22nd to the last verse of this chapter. Devotional service to the Lord is very simple, and one should always engage in the service of the Lord. Should eat the remnants of foodstuffs offered to the deity, smell the flowers offered to the lotus feet of the Lord, see the places where the Lord had his transcendental pastimes, read the different activities of the Lord, his reciprocation of love with his devotees, chant always the transcendental vibration, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare. And observe the fasting days commemorating the appearance and disappearance of the Lord and his devotees. By following such a process, one becomes completely detached from all material activities. One who can thus situate himself in the brahma-jyotir, or the different varieties of the Brahman conception, is equal to the Supreme Personality of Godhead in quality. Om Ajnana-timirandasya Gyananjana-salakaya Chakasoranamritam Yaram Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha Sri Chaitanya-manobhistam sthapitam yena bhutale sayam rupagadamayam dadati savadantigam Bandeyam Sri Guru Sri Yuta Padakamalan Sri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Sri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatan Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Sri Vishakanvitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagatpade Gopesha Gopika Ganta Radha Ganta Namastude Tapta Ganchana Gaudangi Radhe Vrindavane Brajabano Sude Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhya eva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Shivajari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ramo 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 Hare Hare. Brahmaṇaḥ pratiṣṭhāham amṛtasyāvyayasya śāśvatasya dharmasya sukhasyaikāntikasya. Krishna is explaining here to Arjuna that I am the basis of the impersonal Brahman, which is immortal, imperishable and eternal, and is the constitutional possession of ultimate happiness. Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Krishna is the source of all the spiritual material worlds. Krishna is the source of all the personalities of Godhead. Krishna is the source of all energies. And it's explained here that he is the source of the impersonal Brahman, the brahma-jyotir, which some transcendentalists, the impersonalists, they want to attain. They want to merge in the absolute truth, Brahman, and they think that the Brahman, the brahma-jyotir, so that is the ultimate destination, the great effulgence, the light. That is only, as explained by Prabhupada in the Purport, that is the first step in the realization of the absolute truth. That is also mentioned in the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. Vedanti tat-tattva vidastatvam yad-jnanam-advayam prametvi Paramātmēti bhagavaniti sabdyate. So those who know the Vedanta, they say that is absolute truth, Advaita, this transcendental knowledge, which is beyond the duality of this material world, that is realized in three aspects. Brahmetvi as Brahman, the impersonal aspect, the effulgence of the Lord, and then Paramātmā, the Supersoul, situated in everyone's heart, and then Bhagavan, the actual person, Krishna, who is the absolute Supreme Personality of Godhead. So the impersonal aspect, the brahma-jyotir, that is Krishna's bodily effulgence. Krishna is most beautiful. Krishna is the possessor of all opulences. Specifically, it is mentioned, 6 opulences are there. Sar Aishvarya Purna Bhagavan. The Supreme Lord is endowed with 6 transcendental opulences. Beauty, Krishna is most beautiful. Strength, Krishna is the most strong personality. Gyan, knowledge, Krishna is most knowledgeable. Krishna knows everything, past, present and future. Is the embodiment of knowledge, Samvit Shakti. And Balarama is the existence potency and Srimati Radharani the pleasure potency. So also all opulences is there in Krishna. And although he is a possessor of so many opulences, but still is completely detached, renounced, self-satisfied, atmaram aptakam, nothing to desire. At the same time, he has his associates and he likes to have a transcendental loving exchange with his associates. Although it's perfect and complete, but that is giving him more pleasure. So the first step is the impersonal realization. That the impersonal aspect, the brahma-jyotir or Brahman, that is transcendental to the modes of material nature. And as explained here, it is immortal, it is eternal, imperishable. And also, it is the source of transcendental happiness. In the transcendental realm, the Supreme Lord is always satisfied, is always happy. Similarly, all the associates of the Lord, they are always happy. But the happiness which is found in the Brahma-jyotir is very, very insignificant in comparison to the happiness in the loving exchange with Krishna. Very insignificant. So in the spiritual world, the majority of the living entities that engage in the transcendental loving service of the Lord. And that is the constitutional position of the living entities, to serve Krishna. And that is joyfully performed, devotional service. By constitution, it is full of bliss. It is eternal. Satchidananda Vigraha. Krishna is eternal, full of bliss and full of knowledge. Similarly, the jivas, the living entities, the part and parcels of Krishna, they have the same quality. They are also eternal, they are also knowledgeable, and they are also blissful. Anandamaya Bhyasat. By nature, the servant of Krishna is always blissful. Of course, in the transcendental loving exchange with Krishna, different emotions are there. But the underlying principle is transcendental happiness, bliss. It is mentioned the devotees are swimming in an ocean of bliss. They are swimming in the ocean of bliss. So, but there's so much variety in the spiritual realm. Whereas the impersonalists, Mayavadis, they say, we will all merge in the absolute truth and become one with the brahma-jyotir. And then there's no desire, there's no hankering, there's no lamentation. But that is not the complete understanding, it is the beginning. When the living entity is progressing further, he understands in the spiritual world the relationship with Krishna. And there's a loving exchange of transcendental emotions. So sometimes there is transcendental happiness, sometimes there's transcendental distress, sometimes there's transcendental sorrow. So transcendental emotions are there. Transcendental anger also. But that is all giving pleasure to Krishna, these emotions. And then there's an exchange with Krishna. When Krishna is satisfied, the jiva, the living entity, is also satisfied. Fully satisfied. So the devotee has to try to come to the transcendental stage, to the spiritual platform of the soul, Atma Tattva. And that is achieved by following the process of devotional service, Abhideya. And one is acting under the instruction of the spiritual master, who is the representative of Krishna. Krishna Kripa Sri Murti is the embodiment of Krishna's mercy. So in the association of the advanced devotees, in the association of the spiritual master, the conditioned soul can get this transcendental knowledge, can know the process of devotional service, and then practically will engage in devotional service under the direction of the spiritual master, and then is making more and more advancement. But the prayojan, so the necessity, that is to come to the highest stage. Highest stage in regards to the relationship with Krishna. So that is a progression is there as practicing devotee. One is practicing and on the direction of the spiritual master, when we learn the process, and then being purified in consciousness, then naturally dharmasya, the constitutional position of the living entity, is revealed. And then is properly situated in the transcendental loving service. And then there's a wonderful exchange with Krishna. And the devotee can feel so much transcendental happiness. At every step he can experience happiness. It is a notion of love, a notion of transcendental happiness, and it is ever increasing. So devotee has to try to see that he can make advancement towards perfection. So the goal is to practically realize our spiritual, constitutional position, our relationship with Krishna. And then one has to try to be fully engaged in devotional service with the body, with the senses, especially glorifying Krishna, also chanting the holy names, the mantra Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. So by being properly engaged in devotional service, then gradually, slowly but surely, one comes to the highest stage of pure devotional service. And then there's a transcendental loving exchange with Krishna, beyond the modes of material nature. So this chapter was explaining about the modes of material nature, and that we have to transcend the modes of material nature by being fully absorbed in devotional activities. And so we have to endeavor constantly to make advancement. And we should from time to time be introspective and see how are we doing, are we progressing, how much are we progressing, how we can advance more, what to do, what not to do. We have to learn, and then one has to practice. So very important is the association of the devotees who are more advanced, who are highly advanced. Then it becomes more easy to be engaged in devotional activities. Then it is easier to make advancement in spiritual life. Odao Gurupad Ashray, it is mentioned in the limbs of devotional service. First comes taking shelter of the spiritual master. But then we have to also follow his instructions. One has to serve him. And then, by his mercy, we can engage in the service of the Lord in the temple, the Archa Vigraha, which is also very important for the practicing devotee. Because we have to realize, we have to establish our relationship with Krishna, with the person Krishna. And so by worshipping the deities, by seeing the deities, glorifying the Lord, serving the Lord, offering bhoga, doing arti, dressing the deities. By doing this, so there's an exchange with Krishna. Because Krishna is fully present in the Archa Vigraha. And he's trying to help us. So the Achavigara is actually completely transcendental, Satchidananda Swarup. So that is the mercy of the Lord, that He manifests in this world so that we can see Him, we can serve Him. And this way, we can advance more and more. So the devotees of the Lord, they always glorify Krishna. And the process of devotional service, the devotees are glorifying the devotees and trying to help each other. So the sadhaka needs help from the devotee, and then becoming a little better situated, then one has to try to help others also. One has to discuss about this transcendental subject matter with others. And then it is possible to advance. And we are very fortunate to be in the holy place, Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. Because Krishna performed his pastimes here. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu also came here and performed his pastimes. And by going to the different places of the Lord's pastimes, we become purified in consciousness. And then especially when we hear about the different pastimes of the Lord at different places, then we become enlightened. So hearing about Mahaprabhu, hearing about Krishna is very important. We have to know Krishna. We have to know what he's doing, what he likes, what he doesn't like. So being in the holy dham, one is fortunate because the sadhus are here and the deities are here. And then it is a little easier to engage in these activities, devotional activities, and to advance in the holy dham. The influence of the holy dham is there, very powerful. But if one is nicely practicing, he may go anywhere, all over the world. If he's chanting the holy names, if he's worshipping the deities, if he's hearing about Mahaprabhu and Krishna, wherever he may be, but automatically he becomes situated in Vrindavan. And he can also feel the presence of Vrindavan by sincerely chanting holy names, by engaging in deity worship, by hearing and speaking about Krishna. The practical realization will be there. So Krishna, Adbhut Krishna, Krishna is very wonderful. Dina Bandhu, Dina Dayal. Krishna is very, very merciful. He's a friend of the poor. So he's always trying to help us. But we have to try to take the help of Krishna. One has to try to see Krishna everywhere. Stavara Jangava Deki Daideki Murti Savatra Stavara Jangama Deki Nai Deki Murti Sarvatra Hai Ishtadeva Spurti. So wherever he's seeing the devotee, he's not just seeing the body, but he's seeing his Ishtadeva, he's seeing the Supreme Lord. So Krishna becomes manifest in the Acha Vigraha, but is becoming manifest also in the heart of his devotees. He's becoming manifest when he's glorified, when his holy names are chanted. The Krishna becomes manifest, and those who are fortunate, those who are purified, those who are elevated, they can say Krishna. They can feel the presence of Krishna. And they are engaged in the loving exchange with Krishna. So here also, Krishna is explaining that by engaging in devotional activities, by being conscious of Krishna and trying to follow the principles and trying to become free from the modes of material nature, then the transcendental qualities will develop, will manifest. And all impurities will be gone away. All obstacles can be overcome, are removed by the mercy of the Lord, by the mercy of Krishna Nam, by the mercy of the devotees. So eventually one can become perfect and properly situated. And in this position, if one is in the transcendental position, one is protected by Krishna. So that is actually the liberated state. So we are trying to come to that stage beyond the most material nature, to be situated in one's constitutional position, dharmasya, jaiva dharma. So that is a constitutional position, that is to serve Krishna eternally. So by always endeavoring, so one can eventually become perfect in due course of time. You have to remain enthusiastic, one has to be fixed in the understanding and the devotional practice, and then one has to be patient, and in due course of time one becomes perfect. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Any question? Yes. Mataji has a question.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji Dandavat Pranam. Very nice class. So Prabhuji, when we know it is Brahman, Paramātmā and Bhagavan is the source of all ultimate happiness. So in this verse, why does Krishna say that the Brahman aspect is the ultimate source of all happiness? Because this is the last shloka of the 14th chapter, and usually the last shloka of every chapter is one of the most important shlokas. So if someone doesn't read, for example, like Prabhupada has given a very good description, but then if you just read this thing, so it's very confusing then, because he says Brahman is the source of all happiness and divine bliss, So why doesn't he use the word Bhagavan? in this case? That's what my question was, because we know that is the ultimate happiness.
So here, as we can see in the verse, that Krishna is saying that I am the basis of the impersonal Brahman. Because the conditioned soul, many of the conditioned souls, they have the understanding that the ultimate source of everything is the impersonal Brahman. And then there's a material nature is there, and then everything is there for some time. So that is not the ultimate understanding, it is some misconception, or not the ultimate understanding. So therefore Krishna is actually addressing the persons who have this understanding. Those who are not yet so advanced, for their understanding, he's explaining here that then the basis of the impersonal Brahman. And which is, yes, Prabhupada is mentioning here the constitutional position of happiness. So, as we know, so the brahma-jyotir, that is Krishna's effulgence. The impersonal aspect that is included in Krishna. And so basically, there's no difference between Krishna and the impersonal Brahman, but Krishna is the source of the impersonal Brahman, of this aspect of the absolute truth. So Krishna is the source of everything. So therefore, ultimately the meaning is here that Krishna is the source of the ultimate happiness. Krishna the person, but the impersonal aspect that is also included in that, in Krishna. So the devotees, they can easily understand, but impersonalists, they have some difficulty in understanding that. So mainly actually Krishna is trying to explain to those who are not yet on the highest stage. He's trying to explain to them that the personal Brahman which they're trying to achieve, that is included in him. And the happiness, because everyone by nature is eternal and is blissful. So everyone wants to be happy in this world, that is natural. But the conditioned soul is looking in the wrong direction in the material world. The impersonalists also, they want peace. But they think the peace is there in the impersonal Brahman, which is also there. But that peace is not complete. That happiness is not complete. It is just the beginning, as Prabhupada is explaining also in the Purport. It is the beginning. But eternal life is there in the spiritual world, even in the brahma-jyotir. So it is mentioned also that there are two kinds of living entities. Nitya-siddha, those who are eternally perfect, and nitya-baddha, those who are conditioned eternally, since time immemorial, but they are not serving Krishna. But everyone is a servant of Krishna by nature, by constitution. But those who are spiritually conditioned, they will not understand that point, and they are not engaged in service. And so these conditioned souls, they come in this world, and then they are either engaged in sense gratification, or some they may be engaged in trying to merge again in the impersonal Brahman, but that is futile. So that is the situation of the nitya-baddha. Is conditioned, but there is some happiness also, but it is very insignificant. So the transcendental realm, the spiritual world, so there that is eternal and that is full of happiness. But the point is, we have to understand, and the conditioned soul has to understand, that Krishna is the source of everything. The brahma-jyotir also, and unlimited nitya-baddha, conditioned souls are there, even when the material world is not there. Nitya-baddhas are there in the brahma-jyotir, but they are not serving Krishna. And some happiness is there, but it is insignificant. So therefore, from this point of view, that the happiness which is there, that is all pervading in the spiritual world, and everyone is happy there, but especially those who are serving Krishna are happy. And there's a full exchange with Krishna. There's more happiness. Whereas in the brahma-jyotir, brahmaṇaḥ, that is very insignificant, that happiness. And although they are conscious by nature, those who are in the brahma-jyotir, but they are not engaged in seva, and they don't know really what's going on. They cannot. So it is like in seed form. Their constitutional position is there, but in seed form it is not fully manifest. So therefore the happiness is also not fully manifest. The knowledge is not fully manifest. So but the happiness is everywhere. In Vaikuntha, in the planets, but even in the brahma-jyotir. So therefore it is mentioned here that so that is the ultimate happiness is there in the spiritual world, but there are different degrees. So those who are there conditioned, their happiness is very insignificant, but happiness is there. But those who engage in the service of Krishna, they can experience much more happiness. And that is actually the ultimate happiness, is in the service to Krishna. That is the ultimate happiness. But impersonal Brahman, so that is also Krishna's effulgence, and that is conscious also, and there is some happiness there also. So, and by engaging in devotional service, then, and in the loving service of Krishna, and then in the exchange, then we can experience this happiness with Krishna. And then it is more easy to understand the subject matter, and how everything is coming from Krishna, and this happiness which is there. So sometimes the words are there, and sometimes it is a little bit confusing. But we have to understand that the effulgence is not different from Krishna, the transcendental effulgence, the impersonal Brahman. That is not different from Krishna. Krishna himself and Krishna's body, there is no difference. Satchidananda Swarupa of Krishna. But in material world, we are here as jivas inside the body. There's a difference between us and the body. But with Krishna, there's no difference between Krishna and Krishna's body. It is transcendental. It is eternal. And Krishna's effulgence. Krishna is so beautiful. And just like the sun. Of course, the sun's effulgence that is coming from Krishna, from the brahma-jyotir. So Krishna is so effulgent. So even it is there also. In the scriptures it is mentioned that it is just like millions of suns, Krishna's effulgence. And the personalists, they cannot see Krishna, but they can see the effulgence. But the devotees, they are, by Krishna's mercy, they are not blinded by Krishna's effulgence. But the Mayavadis, they are blinded by Krishna's effulgence. But the devotees are beyond the effulgence of Krishna. And by Krishna's mercy, they can see Krishna, and there is a loving exchange with Krishna. So, but if one is not qualified, one is not able to see Krishna or engage in the loving exchange. Just like we can see the sun, we may try to come closer to the sun by going with the airplane, or maybe with the Sputnik, and trying to go to the sun, but the sun is far away and it is almost not possible. And the sun's effulgence is is very strong. And now with this body we cannot go to the sun. Not possible. Because our body is made of different elements, not suitable for the sun. But there's a sun god there, and the living entities are there also. Even in human form, but that form there is made of the different elements by which they can stay there. So similarly in the spiritual world also, one must be situated on the transcendental platform, then one can go to Goloka and one can serve Krishna. But the Mayavadis, they are not qualified because they don't have the complete understanding, but they can experience some bliss. But Krishna is effulgence, and the transcendental bliss is not different from Krishna. So Krishna is the source of everything. Krishna is the source of the spiritual, the material worlds. Krishna is the source of all incarnations. Krishna is the source of all energies. Krishna is the source of the brahma-jyotir. And it's not different from Krishna. Krishna is effulgence. It's not different from Krishna. So this way, the happiness, that is, Krishna is the source of all happiness. Paramanand. Krishna, that means the person Krishna. And that is eternal and made of knowledge and transcendental bliss. That is Krishna's body. Transcendental bliss. And the effulgence, that is part of Krishna. But that is emanating from Krishna. Like the brahma-jyotir, the sun. The sunshine is coming from brahma-jyotir, Krishna's body. It is part of Krishna, but it's coming from Krishna, and it is all pervading. And similarly, the bliss also, that is Krishna. Bliss means Krishna. But then it is also all pervading. In the whole brahma-jyotir there's bliss. Even in the material world there's some bliss, but it is perverted. Because Krishna, for the conditioned soul, they don't have Krishna in the center. The dravya, in the material world, there's dravya, jnana, and kriya. So there's the knowledge is there in material world also. There's some objects are there of the material world, dravya. And then karya, activity is there. But this is actually coming from the transcendental realm. But when the material world is manifested, so then that is perverted that. So the dravya shakti, that is coming from existence potency of Krishna. And that is ultimately Balaram, and the Krishna is the knowledge potency, and because Krishna is there is knowledge in this world also. But without Krishna it is material knowledge. Without Krishna the articles of this world are material objects. And activity, that is the pleasure potency of Krishna. Then motion is there, but if Krishna is not motion, then is not there in the center, then it is material. So that we have to understand. So everything is coming from Krishna, it is not different from Krishna. But then still it is also explained there is some difference there. It is not different, but different from Krishna. Like the material world, the brahma-jyotir also is not different from Krishna, but also different from Krishna. But Krishna is the source of everything. So it's the source of the brahma-jyotir, the light, the material world, and the happiness. It be spiritual material happiness. Without Krishna, there is not even any material happiness. Not possible. Nothing is outside of Krishna. The material world is not outside of Krishna. We are never outside of Krishna. Bahirmukh. The living entity is explained, so they are bahirmukh. They are looking towards material world. It seems to be that we are not connected to Krishna. It seems to be that the conditioned souls who are not serving Krishna, they are not connected to Krishna, but they are connected to Krishna. Nothing is outside of Krishna. We are connected to Krishna, but we are not realized in the beginning. Or the conditioned souls, they don't know they are connected to Krishna. Even the devotees who are practicing, they cannot see Krishna yet. They cannot see that actually they are connected to Krishna. We are never separate from Krishna. It only appears to be so, due to illusion. So similarly also the knowledge. So all knowledge or all bliss. So that is coming from Krishna. It is, Krishna is the source of everything. It seems to be the impersonal Brahman this happiness seems to be then, some happiness seems to be outside of Krishna, but nothing is outside of Krishna. Because Krishna means everything. So even material world, it seems to be different from Krishna, but it is not ultimately. So in the spiritual world, 1 plus 1, 1 plus 1 is always 1, is still 1. 1 minus 1, that is still 1. So Krishna is, everything is included in Krishna. So the happiness is included in Krishna. The personal aspect that is included in Krishna, it is just mentioned here for the persons who are not yet able to understand. So therefore it seems to be that it is mentioned here that the personal Brahman is the constitutional position of ultimate happiness. So dharmasya so the dharmasya means the constitutional position. Dharmasya sukhasyaikāntikasya. So the constitutional position of happiness. So it seems to be impersonal Brahman, but what is the impersonal Brahman? That is Krishna also. And that happiness is Krishna also. In impersonal Brahman, those who are situated in the brahma-jyotir, the unlimited jivas in the brahma-jyotir. And so there's some happiness there that is included in Krishna. Because these jivas are included in Krishna, but they are not serving Krishna. They are not conscious of their position. So we have to try to understand in this way. So nothing is separate from Krishna. The impersonal Brahman is Krishna. But it is not the perfect understanding for the Mayavadis. But for us it is clear, the impersonal Brahman, that is Krishna also. But a Krishna as a person is there too. And an impersonal Brahman is there. It is simultaneously different and non-different. The impersonal Brahman, that is also Krishna. But we have to go beyond and we have to see Krishna also. And we see the devotees, they see the impersonal Brahman and they see Krishna also. And so all the happiness which is there, that is coming, that is in Krishna. But the happiness in regards to the service and the loving exchange with Krishna, that is higher. But even in the brahma-jyotir, there's some happiness there. Because it is the spiritual world. And it is eternal. And happiness is there, all pervading in the spiritual world. And knowledge is there also, all pervading, but then the different degrees are there. So the jivas were there in the brahma-jyotir, so they are not fully developed. They are in seed-like form. They are there eternally, and the knowledge is there, but it is not developed. And the bliss is there, but it is not developed. Just like a child, small child. It is growing, the knowledge is there, because the jiva is there, but it is not developed. But then it is growing, it is learning more and more. And then there is activity, and then they will feel some happiness, but distress also. It is already there, but it is not developed. So we have to understand in this way. So the happiness is all pervading. It is there in Golok, but that happiness is much superior to the happiness in the impersonal Brahman. So we have to understand this verse in this way. Because many, they want to merge in the brahma-jyotir, so therefore Krishna is explaining that the impersonal Brahman, that is coming from me, I am not different from that. And the happiness which is there, that is not different from me. Is that okay?
Yes,
all right.
Very detailed explanation. Thank you.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Okay, and there's some prasad for everyone. That is more easy to understand. And there's so much happiness there.